Today, I want to talk about a skill up priority for the popular unit that you guys are using in the early mid game because we have very limited of the yellow tofu and also not a crazy amount of the purple tofu as well. So I'm going to go through every single popular unit and talk about them because there'll be things that you don't have to build early on and you don't have to invest into them early on as well. Eventually, you will have to max out the unit that you use the most, honestly. If you are not maxing out the one that you use every single day, I don't know what you're doing. But because in the game, you can choose where you put your skill up, then you will prioritize certain thing before certain thing in the early to mid game. Also, I am very well aware of the current drama going on in the Discord, on the Reddit, in the community in general. People are very angry about the Shadow Sania situation, and I'll talk about it when the dev team reply to the situation, because I want to talk about it without any reply and then it's like a one-sided conversation. I really want to see how they're going to handle the situation, like how they did with the dupe situation in RTA. So, free selector incoming, because hey, free reroll, free Lattice, free tofu incoming. Hey! But I want to talk about it when they reply. Okay, but first, we're going to focus on the skill up. Before we talk about each unit, for every character, I highly suggest that you try to get at least the first couple level to get the stat. It's so cheap to do so, and the stat you're getting is so freaking good. And the percentage stat can go even higher the moment you 6-star the character. So it is giga worth to just get a bit of stat from the first 5 levels of the skill. Do it so that your character can be stronger, tankier, and do more damage. Doki Doki, I think you can use in the early game without any need to skill up whatsoever. Her skill 3 for turn meter, her skill 2 for cooldown reduction, absolutely incredible. In the future, when you use her a whole lot more, then you definitely want to max out the skill 2 and 3 to get the most value out of her boost. But early game, I would skip on putting any of the yellow tofu into Doki Doki. Massiah, skill 3 is a huge priority because in skill 3 you also get a nice speed boost and you ignore more defense and you also ignore passive, very big damage output. I would go skill 3 Massiah early on. Mio, this one is hard because she's the kind of unit that you want to max out on everything. Because here, you have more turn meter, you have cooldown reduction, which is one of the most impactful things for a support character. And in skill 2, you also have cooldown reduction and you have better chance to apply your freeze. And then skill 1, you get speed upgrade. And for a character like Mio, speed upgrade is insane because she will steal enemy turn meter and boost your team in the first turn. So she's the character that requires all of them maxed out, to be honest, to be like super useful. But in the early game, if you don't care about PvP, you don't care about that at all, then maybe you can not invest into skill 1 first. Like, don't do it too early, even though you get a speed here. Incredible to go first. But if you don't want to compete in PvP and then you don't need to outspeed people, then maybe you want to focus on other things like getting more turn meter steal. And maybe if you're doing Doki Doki, you want more consistent freezing, then you get at least to level 3 on the skill 2. Because for reduced skill cooldown, you can use some sort of a shell situation to reduce your cooldown so that you can kind of bypass the need to get this skill maxed out. But this is the kind of unit that if you really spend a lot of money, she's the kind that you will max all the skill because they are all very good. Shadow Sania. I have her, by the way. I haven't used it yet because I didn't want to rush the game too much. Like, I'm kind of rushing a lot as a free-to-play player right now, but I didn't want to rush too much and build a dot team. So I kind of dodged the bullet a little bit. But if you want to build her for Termaton because she still works for Termaton, you definitely want to max out the skill 1 because I see a lot of clear in Termaton right now with Shadow Sania, but most of the time is manual gameplay. The player would choose the skill 1 most of the time, and then skill 2, and then do the skill 3 at the end to blow up the dots, or maybe the boss just die to the dot naturally. You want the skill 1 to get that 2-turn dot duration, because the longer the dot duration, the more dots you have, the bigger the damage skill 3 can do. So I think for Shadow Sania, it's definitely going to be max skill 1, and keep it at that for now. Next up, we have Heinrich. So a lot of people have him as well. I personally think that you don't have to max his skill at all for him to be very useful. Maybe you need to max the skill 1 to level 3 to increase the chance of him dispelling buff to 50%. So that's going to be consistent for your Inferno run, for your Hellfall run, for example. But I feel like you don't need to max out any of this for him to function really, really well. You may not even need to 6-star him so that he can just strip buff, right? So he's the kind of unit that can be keep at 5-star and not max skill and still perform at like 80% capacity, which is amazing, by the way. I would love for that to for like many unit, because if you need to invest, it's like a big decisions. And in the early game, you don't have a whole lot of yellow tofu to invest. And this is the kind of unit that I would just let him be. And I think it's gonna be fine. Lily. Oh my god, another one very much like Mio, a support character that will love to get invested a whole lot. So the skill 1 can go up to 100% chance to assist, so pretty much double damage for your damage dealer, because when she attacks, and she's usually built very fast, so she attacks with skill 1 very often, your damage dealer that get boosted by Lily will just attack all the time as well, so free damage for you. And then the skill 2 can be really good with the skill cooldown reduction and 100% of uptime for the crit damage buff, which is insane. So I think for Lily, skill 1 and 2 is very good for like the early game. If you reroll for her, you definitely want to invest into her. For skill 3, this is like a PvP situation. I think I'm gonna relax and wait until later where you can accumulate more yellow lattice and you invest into skill 3. But skill 1 is like really good. Celine. Alright, big discovery. Her AoE Forgetfulness can take away Doki Doki damage reduction effect in the dungeon, the model dungeon. So she is like an upgrade-ish to the AoE Sleep Girl, because she can shield your entire team every single turn, so make the run a bit safer in the early mid game. And she also have attack now, and a skill 1 can also do the same thing. So very good unit for PvE. I'm sorry, here's my official apology to Celine. I put you into D tier for PvE. If I knew that she was good in Doki Doki, she's at least in the B+ or A tier because of the shield. The shield happens because it's a passive, so it happens every turn that she moves, and the better your gear, the bigger the shield, and it reflects damage as well. So very good unit for Doki Doki. And I am building her because I roll her. So I am building Celine for Doki Doki for the AoE CC, but it's not really CC, and AoE attack now and AoE shield. Very solid character. Will I invest into her with my yellow tofu? I might get the skill 3 to level 3 just to get the chance to land more consistently, and maybe the skill 1 to 3 as well. Maybe, that's a maybe, okay? Not yet. But if I can, I'll try to get it into level 3 as well. The shield, I wouldn't care too much about that for now. I can ignore that. But if I can run the dungeon consistently without skilling up this character, because I'm going to do that anyway. I'm going to go into the dungeon. I want to use her. And if I win like 8 out of 10 times, I'm good. I will not invest into her skill up, and I can use that for other PvP character. But I think she's going to be a crazy option. And holy armpit. And I'm just kidding. Next up, we have one of the most popular unit in the game, Rilmocha for Doki Doki. And everybody 6-star her. Everybody love using her for Doki Doki. But she's not very useful outside of Doki Doki. But if you love Doki Doki and farm speed gear, then you want to max out her skill 3. Like, you really want to max out her skill 3 so that you can consistently kill the enemy team with the skill 3. Other than that, the rest, you can wait. It's not a big deal. Freya. I think Freya is another unit that you can function really well without the need to invest, because in the first month or 2, you have like at best 10 yellow tofu. You cannot throw everything at every unit. It is impossible to invest properly. So if I can skip, I will. Even though getting her skill 2 to get more Dream Weave and cooldown reduction for the skill 2 is amazing, but she can function perfectly fine without any yellow tofu investment. So I'm gonna keep her at like 0 for a long time. Rahu. I think this guy is gonna be a great substitute for Rilmocha in Doki Doki for damage output. He also will keep your team alive longer with a defense buff. However, your run will be slower because unlike Rilmocha that can clear the wave in one turn very quickly, this guy's gonna take a while. But I think he also doesn't need the crazy investment into his skill up, because you're not getting like a crazy boost. Like, you get more damage. I understand that. You get more death break chance, obviously. But it is another unit that I feel it's okay. Like if his skill 2 can increase chance to assist, because he has a 50% chance to assist, but the skill doesn't improve that chance. If it does to like 100% like Rosa, then I would invest into the skill 2. But right now, you don't really get the extra value of his assist. If you invest into his skill up, especially the skill 1, you will get better defense break chance. But let's be real, you can use him at 0 and still get a decent chance of defense breaking. So I would just let Rahu stay at 0 in the early game. Lilith is going to be a PvP unit, so I wouldn't worry too much about Lilith in the early game as well. So I would just keep her at 0. But if I were to start using her for PvP, I think skill 3 is going to be a massive improvement, because the skill can gain 1 extra turn when used, and you can also reduce the cooldown of the skill, which effectively allow you to reduce cooldown of the skill 2 as well. Because when you use this sooner, you can get another extra turn to effectively make the skill 2 more readily available, just by the fact that you are moving so often with the skill 3. Skill 3 is going to be massive later on. Dude, skill 1 is just like an RNG thing, okay? Ignore that. But skill 3 is massive for Lilith, but would not invest into the early game. Kloss, one of the most important AoE debuff queen for early mid game. Absolutely incredible. So much debuff in one character, and she make the enemy weaker. She make your team so much stronger, and its stack, it cannot go away. It is so freaking good. So if I were to invest into Kloss, if you are like a PvP player, you definitely want to get speed on Kloss, because she is one of the fastest unit in the game. One of the fastest, if not the fastest, 128 faster than Mio. And her skill 2 can steal turn meter, so push back the enemy team, which means if she outspeed you, you're kind of cooked. So if you are like a PvP addict, you can go for the speed. But if you are not, then you want to go for the skill 3 to get the chance of inflicting the debuff to 100%. So you're going to start landing debuff like crazy. But if you are in the early game and you build effect accuracy a lot on her, because effect accuracy improve your activation rate in the skill, you can actually not invest too much into this character and she still will perform perfectly fine. Okay, if you are putting your yellow tofu in Massiah, you're left with like 1 or 2. You're putting it on, I don't know, Lingluo, for example, for healing, then she will function perfectly fine without skill up. And once again, in the long run, in the long future of the game, and if you're playing this game a whole fucking lot, then you will invest into everything that you use daily. It is very important. But Kloss, I think, can actually function without the need for any of that. Xiada is another case of damage dealer, best in slot for blue, competing with Rosa for that matter, and looks very hot. So, damn. Anyway, we have the skill 2 here to boost her crit to do more damage consistently and also more damage output. I don't think the defense spec is going to matter too much. If you build her as a setup unit, you build effect accuracy. Then she lands most of the time. If you build her as a damage dealer, you want the skill 2. So I think for Xiada, it's going to be a skill 2 upgrade for early game, if you want to. But it's another unit that I feel you don't have to invest and she can still function okay. Like, you do okay, but without the tofu, you're not missing out on too much. Borgne, another unit I would not invest too much into the early game. If I were to use this guy, I'm using him as a strip from the Aurora boss to take away the boss immunity. And then he would just be like the some sort of a sub DPS. Like, he would do some damage, and then when the boss buff again, I'll strip again. No problemo. That's the whole plan for Borgne, and I don't plan to invest into him as well. Tiamat. So this is going to be a PvP character-ish / PvE if you want your run to be a bit longer but safer. And if they buff her AI to shield before she taunt, it's going to be amazing. I think if I were to use Tiamat, I'm probably going to go a little bit into the skill 3 to get the damage as well as the taunt. But I think I will probably ignore Tiamat's skill up as well because you have so limited option. And in the early game, you want to progress in PvE first. So PvP character can wait. Rosa. I have her and everybody else around me tell me to max out skill 2. I did that and absolutely incredible. Would I max out other skill? Maybe. I don't have the option to do that. I am almost out of yellow tofu. I have like 3 more, I think. But I will probably look into other character, like a different role to fulfill instead of going all in on Rosa. and then realized that my other character needed more. So I maxed out skill 2 so that her follow-up, which is her signature move, be better. And that's pretty much it. She can follow up all the fucking time, and she does a ton of damage with that, and that is all I care about. So I will let her be for a long time. Lingluo, the free-to-play healer that we are going to get today. Personally, I will definitely try to max out her skill 1 because her skill 1 will give her speed. So for a healer, very good. But also, the skill 1 can be used all the time because your cooldown is going to be hella long, right? She'll use skill 1 a lot of time. And I want her to apply the healing over time to cleanse better because when you upgrade the skill 1, you're upgrading her unique passive, the Rockstar passive as well. So I think skill 1 is going to be an incredible investment for Lingluo, and I am personally doing that. Mia AoE strip can be used in Terramaton, and I would probably go for the skill 2 to increase the chance of dispelling buff to 50%. So if you fully invest into her effect accuracy, it can double that, so become 100% to consistently strip the enemy immunity so that your Terramaton run or your Aurora run can be better. Other than that, I don't think you need to worry about the other skill yet. Lian, you have to invest into her for the mission, and you can reset her, which I did. And I got all my Lattice back, I put into Rosa, and I will probably let her stay empty for a little while before I decide what I want to do with her again. Khloros, a very popular unit for Union Boss for Terramaton, incredible damage dealer, potentially for Aurora as well because he's a red character. And a lot of people in my guild built this guy for Union Boss to help with all the guildies and Terramaton as well because he can do massive damage. And most of them maxed out skill 3. I think you can go to level 4 and stop because when a unit with Doom Toll die, transfer the effect to the enemy with the highest attack. When the boss die, the battle ends. So you can probably don't need to go to level 5. Go to level 4, and if you really want to, you can go for the skill 2 or skill 1. But then I think level 4 is more than enough for him to be usable in a very long time. Veronika, my queen, would not invest into her at all in the early mid game because she's a PvP unit. So I don't plan to do that. Maybe I would use her for Aurora to strip the boss immunity and spread it to my entire team. That can be a thing, so she can be built a bit faster. But I will probably just do it... No, I probably don't need to do it at all. You can just run high effect accuracy on her. She'll steal that, spread the immunity to the entire team, and be an absolute giga chat in either Aurora or Terramaton. Helkid, also like a early game bruiser, can function really well without any need for skill up, and also an end game, mid game PvP character with amazing immunity support. I would not invest into his skill early game. I would only go for the stat, like the first couple level to get a bit more stat. His stun go to 100% when you have Shroud Barrier, so you don't even need to care about the stun. So if you just keep the Shroud Barrier up, you're gonna stun a whole lot. It's gonna be hilarious. Very good character for PvP, but I would not invest early game. Beyontin, another character that I think would not need to be invested in the early game, because if you build her properly, she could buff your damage dealer, alright, and then you're gonna do some big damage with the attack and crit damage buff, and then she would do this skill on the damage dealer so that they can move again, reduce the skill cooldown of the unit, and then they do the skill again very quickly. If you maxed out her skill, she can reduce skill cooldown by 2 turns, which is absolutely incredible. But in the early game, you don't have to do that. Your run might be a bit slower. The unit might not have the skill 3 yet, but 1 or 2 natural turns later, they will have it. So she's going to be a raw, purely set up unit. So in the early game, I don't think you need to invest into her skill up at all. In the future, yes. But in the early game, you don't need to. She functions just fine without that. Before we move on to the SR, I think I want to talk about the R unit quickly. Number 41 wound, massive for the Leah boss. The boss that heal, you will come across that soon if you haven't played the game yet. You come across that and you're like, damn, I don't have a unit of wound. So build this thing, max out a skill 1. No, you don't need to max out a skill 1. Go to level 3 for this character, buy the micro Lattice in the arena shop, and crush that boss. Alright, now back to the SR character. First, we have the most popular character, Marvell. Very good character. You don't need to max out 3 and 2. And personally, I went with skill 1 for the speed upgrade because I'm a PvP addict and I really want to get a bit ahead. So I went with that, but you honestly don't need that as well. You might want to go a bit more in S3. I think I did S3 for the extra turn meter chance to 60%, so that when I have 100 accuracy on him, or very high accuracy in general, he will land the pushback, he will land the speed and rest down almost all the time, which is amazing. Other than that, you don't need to care too much about the silence, and if you don't care about the PvP outspeed situation, then you don't care about skill 1. So skill 3, a little bit halfway through, is the way to go. If you go and increase the chance of speed and rest to 100%, you might lower his effect accuracy a little bit as well, because now you're letting the speed and the rest down all the time, and then all the other units on your team don't care about accuracy at all because we have rest down the enemy. Very good character. You might push for level 4 skill 3, but honestly, I think you don't need to invest anything, and he's instantly very, very good. Valerian. Mandatory skill 3 max so that you can build her with 0 speed. She buffed the Hazy Dream right at the start of the match, and everyone that keep moving around her get free buff and shield. So if you really need a support character, you are desperate for that, or you run Xiada, you want to stack buff, then you want to invest into her skill 3, maxed out at level 5, so that she can be built with 0 speed, and she will buff your team constantly without moving. Very cool character. And I'm sorry, I told you guys that she's not that good. I'm very, very sorry. My fault. My bad. Diting. Maxed out skill 2. I wish I have him. I've been using Diting every day for Union Boss for my guildies. And this thing hit like an absolute truck. 100k, 200k damage on the boss. My god, the whale make him look so freaking good with only skill 2 max. So that is incredible. Catchy the God PvP unit, I would not invest. Victor, Giga Nerve. I am doubting myself because even though he's Giga Nerve, I pull 3. I feel like I can max out his dupe very, very soon. I have a feeling. Like, I'm going to max out him before I get Diting. That could be a problem. So, if I were to use him, I would probably not invest into his skill up anytime soon because he can deal very good damage without the need of that. So, I think Victor can just stay empty, but I might build him. Sania. Oh boy, Giga nerf as well, and also nerf the Tiamat Sania combo. I think if I were to build Sania, I'm just gonna relax. Like, you don't have to max out her skill to like get the most out of her value. Maybe go skill 3 to level 3. Maybe. But her beautiful thing is that she heal with her passive and cleanse with her passive. So she just need to move and do that. So you kind of don't need to max out her skill at all. Tsutomu. I tried to build him for the Lian boss to do the wound and didn't really work out too well. Would not invest in this guy anytime soon. If I am so unlucky that I cannot pull anything to beat Terramaton with, I will build him and Lian so that he can block the buff on the boss after I strip it, because the boss can be applied with defense buff and he becomes so much tankier. So with this, I can block the boss defense buff and still do very good damage. He's like a cheap, easy to build damage dealer, but his damage output is not like sky high. But because he can crit all the time with the passive right here, when you attack target with debuff, he's a bit easier to build for like everybody else. So if I'm that unlucky that I can't pull anything that can be used for Terramaton, I will build him. But I will only invest into probably his skill 3, and that's pretty much it. Oh wait, I have to invest into skill 1 to get a guarantee crit. So if I were to build him in the future, I will invest into the skill 1. That's about it. Chiaki the Echo. I don't have this character. Like, how is that even possible? So it's a character that buff your attack and attack bar, like a budget Freya type shit. So I don't think I will care too much about maxing her skill. And because her base speed is pretty low compared to other character, I would not go for the skill 1 upgrade to get the speed to be competitive, because you cannot be competitive with her. You're not outspeeding anyone with her. So with Mio Lily running rampant in PvP, I would not invest skill up into this character. Kazuyo the Doki Doki Slayer. So you can use this character to do the slumber. So I would personally try to go for the skill 3 here to get the slumber to 45%, so you can land it all the freaking time with the attack down as well, because you only land slumber if you land attack down. So I think going level 4 or even level 5 for Kazuyo for Doki Doki run might be the play. If she's your only main CC, then she's gonna get her skill 3 max. Gray. All right, for my first 6-day run, I maxed out his skill 2 and 3. He was doing a massive job in every single content I play with. But right now, when I'm trying to build a character, maybe I don't need to max out skill 2 and 3 anymore. I actually re-roll his Lattice, his purple tofu, and I took it all out. I reinvested into skill 3 at level 4 to get the defense breakdown to 100% when he crit. That is all I care about. So it's a setup unit, and he will be a great setup unit with that level 4 skill 3. And that is pretty much it. I will not further invest into the cooldown reduction because you kind of have to get both of them to be reduced by 1 turn to make sense. Because right now his rotation is always he buff, he death break. He take 2 turn, he buff so that he can death break again. If you reduce the cooldown of the skill by 1, the rotation will be like buff, death break, he move 2 turn, and then this skill will be available at the same time as this skill. But he always buff before he death break. That's the AI, right? He always buff. So he's not naturally reducing the skill of the cooldown of the skill anymore. So if you want to max out this skill, you should max out the skill so that you can buff death break, get a turn naturally, and then buff and then death break again without overlapping in terms of the skill being ready or not. Did I make sense? I hope I make sense. So right now I maxed out skill 3 level 4, and he's gonna stay like that for a while. This is gonna be stripper for Teramaton. Maybe, maybe not. I'm not too sure yet because she's new and her kit is a bit too simple, but her skill 1 can also dispel, which is kind of good. So I'm thinking about building her for Teramaton because I don't have Heinrich, right? I kind of need something to strip, and that might be the case. Obo with the nerf to Shadow Sania, not very popular. Not a lot of people are using him. People are using the fungus option way more for Teramaton, and you cannot use him for Teramaton. And you cannot use him in Aurora anymore. So very, very, how do I say? Obo stock going down in the dumpster right now. Nobody's really a fan of him. So I think it's going to stay empty for a while. Rin the Unbowed. Might be building her for the Aurora boss because I'm going to use Rosa, Rin the Unbowed, something that can strip, maybe Viper, something that can defense break, maybe RC, and something that buff my team. Maybe Tsukiyomi. That's the plan. Oh wait, we need a Lingluo in there. So Lingluo, Rin, Rosa, 3 character, 2 damage and 1 healer, 1 strip Viper, and then 1 death break RC. So maybe that's the plan. So I might be building her soon in the future for Aurora because I don't have Oboro. But even though I'm building her, I don't think I'm going to invest into her kit that much because you don't have to farm Aurora in the early game anyway. So I think for at least the first month, she will not be getting any purple tofu. Viper is incredible, but can function really well without the need to have any skill up because the chance of dispelling is already pretty decent without skill up. So I would not worry too much about Viper. And you only have to dispel 1 buff anyway. So increasing number of buff dispel to 2 is kind of not important. And his other 2 skill are not too important for PvE as well. So I will use Viper without any skill up. Oboro is not that good in PvE because her bleed is kind of ass when you're fighting boss with 20 billion health and her bleed skill with her own attack power, and it's not even that good. So in PvP, she might have a shot as a bleed character, but in PvE, not a whole lot. Kraken. I've been using this guy so much and he's worked so well without a single skill up. So I'm okay. Like I just get him a bit of stat and that's about it. I forget about his skill up and he works so fucking well. So I can confidently say that you don't need skill up, but you can if you're a whale. Reducing the freeze down to 1 turn or this to 2 turn is giga big for like playing in PvP or just giving him the maximum potential that he can be. RC77. I was trying to test him out in Nico Nana for the defense break and he works just fine without the need to skill up at all. So I will probably not skill up this guy whatsoever and he can still land the defense break. No problem because it's 3 different hits to land defense break. Very good. Yang. So might be a great buffer for endgame Aurora because he buff attack and crit, reducing the requirement to build crit rate on your character by a whole lot and big damage on the skill 3, extra turn meter as well, and dispel buff as well. So overall, I think a solid character for endgame Aurora run, and that is for the future. Rin the red one. So budget Tiamat, I would not even touch her if you don't care about PvP, and I think if you touch her, you care about PvP. You build her, you surprise people with the best Swift on her, and then you taunt them, and there's really nothing you can do. I mean, they can do. So a whole lot of taunting might be good for like taunting boss in Ember Track, because most bosses are immune to control except for taunt. So if you build her, it's going to be like a cheese strategy to try and taunt the boss in Ember Track. So that is probably either you are a whale, you have an option, you have resources to build a cheese character, or you're like a giga smart player and you're probably going to max out all her skill. And I think if you're watching me, you might not be in any camp. Like you are a casual player, you're also not a giga whale, and I would not recommend a casual player to build Rin at all. Chiaki. So I've been using Chiaki for the first 7 days. I'm going to say goodbye to Chiaki the moment I get my hands on Lingluo. And I did not max out any of her skill, and I did not feel that the need to. So I would not do that. Fangus. So this is another drama unit with Shadow Sania, because Fangus is a component in the dot team. Because Fangus can assist the teammate with dot. And that allows Fangus to dot the enemy team without actually taking a turn. Because Obo have to take a turn to dot them up. But Fangus can spam the skill 3 and start assisting the team and inflict dot with the skill 1, which is really, really good for Shadow Sania. So he's been very popular, and if you want to use him, it's definitely going to be maxing out skill 1 and 2. But that is a lot of investment for a character that now is in the middle of a big drama. Turandot would not invest into her skill up, I would say. If you do, you get a hella good uptime for your attack and defense buff. But because everybody and their mom pull for Freya, so you kind of just forget about her for now. Kazami Kazuyo. I swear this character is so underrated. I feel like it's like budget Lily, because you can speed buff, you can cooldown reduction. You just don't do that very, very well. You don't have the assist, but you have the speed debuff though. That's pretty cool. And you can dispel. I feel like this is one of the most underrated character for Teramaton, because she allows your team to move. She take away the boss defense buff, and she slow the boss down so you can skip Marvell in the team. So I feel like I will end up building her soon, at some point. And I'll probably go for the skill 3 just to get the uptime to be all the time for the speed buff. And she can reduce the team cooldown and shell cooldown. Dinah. So I don't think you need to skill up Dinah at all, because you get more erosion. You get more erosion, and you don't need that. And the skill 1 can be fine without skill up, honestly. Dinah is one of the best characters in the game, because she does so much damage boosting for the team with the defense down vulnerable, while needing 0 skill up and not even 6-star. Amazing character. Dorothy the Wisher. I think in the future she's going to be relevant, but not now. Way, way too early to talk about her. But I feel like this skill will be pretty good for Union boss, because you want to bring in all damage dealer to do the most damage as quickly as possible. And the life lich might help you a lot with staying alive without building a healer or putting in a healer in your Union boss, that kind of thing. So she might be good in the future. Other than that, that is all I have for you guys today. So whatever you skill up, decide for yourself. I just talk about the things that may need skill up or may not need skill up. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.